Hello there, welcome to Africa Live. Here's what we have lined up for you in the next 30 minutes. My name is Ramanyangs, here in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Let's start in South Africa, where millions are fearing the worst following word from the presidency that Nelson Mandela's health condition is now critical. The office of President Jacob Zuma said the head of state had visited the 94-year-old anti-apartheid leader on Sunday evening and was informed by the medical team that Madiba's condition had become critical in the last 24 hours. With the latest details, here's CCTV's Maria Galang.
Former South African President Nelson Mandela's condition deteriorated to critical on Sunday, 2 weeks after the 94-year-old anti-apartheid leader was admitted to hospital with a lung infection. President Jacob Zuma and the deputy leader of the ruling African National Congress, Cyril Ramaphosa, visited Mandela in his Pretoria hospital, where doctors said his condition had worsened in the last 24 hours. A statement from the government said the doctors are doing everything possible to get his condition to improve and are ensuring that Madiba is well looked after and is comfortable. Mandela, who became South Africa's first black president in 1994, was rushed to a Pretoria hospital on June 8th with a recurrence of a lung infection, his fourth hospitalization in 6 months. People in the streets of Johannesburg were saddened by the news.
It's quite sad that this news has come about now. I think he's a role model for a lot of South Africans, and I think I wish him all the best, but I think he's lived a fulfilled life, and I think it's good that South Africans look up to him, and yeah, I think it's a sad moment for South Africa as well.
Some South Africans say that people should accept that Mandela will not live forever, but his teachings will.
Mr. Mandela, I think that he's been one of the most influential leaders, not only in South Africa, but globally. And he's absolutely an icon. And if he's gone, we just have to accept that. He will be gone, but I mean, his teachings, what he stood for, we all I'm sure we have all learned, and we should be able to live with it and reproduce it wherever we go.
Madiba is like the one who released my hands were tied, but now my hands are free.
Until Sunday, official communiques had described his condition as serious but stable, although comments last week from Mandela's family members and his presidential successor Thabo Mbeki suggested he was on the mend. The description of his condition as critical is bound to concern South Africa's 53 million people, most of whom revere Mandela as the architect of the peaceful transition to democracy after 3 centuries of white domination. Mandela's history of lung problems dates back to his time at Robben Island prison near Cape Town. He was released in 1990 after 27 years and went on to serve as president from 1994 to 1999. Maria Galang, CCTV.
Ever since the former president was rushed to hospital 2 weeks ago, the world has kept a close eye on the health of the ailing former South African president and global icon. But for his daughter, Makaziwe Mandela, this is not a global event, but a deeply personal and precious time.
In our culture, the Thembut culture that I know, the African culture that I know, you never release the person unless the person has told you, please, my children, my family, release me. My dad hasn't said that to us. So these people who want to talk about, release him and do that, he hasn't said we should release him. And we haven't come to the end yet. It is only God who knows the end.
We'll cross over now to Johannesburg, South Africa, where CCTV's Sumitra Naidu is standing by live. Sumitra, what's the latest news on the former president's health? Is he still in critical condition?
Well, Rama, all the updates that we're getting is only coming from the presidency at this stage. We're getting no updates from the doctors or from his family. So we heard from President Jacob Zuma this morning. He was speaking at a breakfast meeting and he answered some questions, but all he said was that he visited last night with the Deputy President of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa. When they got to the hospital, they met with the wife, Gracia Michelle, and they soon left thereafter. He also, the President also said that when he got to the hospital, Madiba was already sleeping. So it seemed that he was really cautious around what he was saying at the press conference when he was probed further on the health of the former president. President Jacob Zuma said he was not a medical doctor and therefore he could not answer any questions medical related. So what stands at this point is the statement that was released by the presidency last night to say that President Nelson Mandela's health had deteriorated into a critical condition in the last 24 hours.
Now, in light of the fact that the former president appeared to be stable for several days prior to the latest developments of the last 24 hours, how are South Africans reacting to this latest news?
Well, South Africans always get very nervous when they hear anything about the former president. And of course, this news came through late last night and we saw thousands of people in South Africa and around the world streaming social networks, going onto Facebook, onto Twitter. There was an absolute outpour of tributes and prayers, people posting pictures and quotes of the former President Nelson Mandela. Obviously, a lot of people very, very sad about the fact that he is in such an ill condition, but also coming through is more of an acceptance. A lot of people coming to that understanding, coming to that acceptance that yes, he is old and it's time to let go.
Indeed. Now, we've also heard comments from his daughter, and she seemed to suggest that he's on life support. Has that been formally confirmed?
Not at this stage. Yes, we saw the statement coming through from his daughter, and she was saying, all I pray for as a daughter is that his transition is smooth. He is at peace with himself. He has given so much. I believe he is at peace. Yes, it does suggest that maybe he is in life support, and there's lots of controversy around a report that came out late last week saying that his ambulance had broken down, and this was kept secret from the media. So there's a lot of concern coming through that, again, the presidency is not giving the media all the details that they should be giving in terms of the former president's real health situation. But no, there's nothing confirmed at this stage. We don't have any official confirmation that that the former President Nelson Mandela is on life support. So we're just going with what the presidency has given us so far, is that he is in a critical condition. We'll
have to leave it there for the time being. Thank you very much for that. That's CCTV Sumisha Naidu live in Johannesburg. Now, over in Nelson Mandela's home village of Kunu in South Africa's Eastern Cape province, people have been shocked by the news that his condition has gotten worse. CCTV's Renee Delcam has more.
There's a great sense of shock, sadness and somberness here in Kunu in the Eastern Cape province, the place where he spent his childhood, his boyhood years, and the place which he said had given him some of the happiest moments of his life. It's also the place which Nelson Mandela returned to for a visit soon after his release from prison in 1990, and a place where he came to live amongst his rural people in 1999 after he ended his time as president in South Africa. People here are saying they are not ready to lose Nelson Mandela. They say there will never be another man of his stature and caliber. There'll never be, they say, another Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Renee Delcam, CCTV, Kunu.
Bit of business news now. The Emerging Markets Forum has come to close in the city of Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire with a call for increased transparency on tax evasion and illicit cash flow. Now, the objective of the forum this year was to discuss a draft report on the long-term social and economic development issues facing Africa under the theme Africa 2050, realizing the continent's full potential. The Africa 2050 study was commissioned by the 5th Ministerial Joint Annual Meeting of the Economic Commission for Africa and the African Union in Addis Ababa in March last year. This year's meeting brought together heads of state, political experts and leaders, regional and international organizations, including private sector representatives from over 20 countries. Now, the conclusions of the forum led to actionable proposals, and participants were urged to apply them in their respective countries and organizations.